Hello, I am Peter Okwoche. Welcome to Focus on Africa, our top stories. She's one of the 100 most influential people in Africa. She's interviewed more heads of states than even me, and she's just 11 years old. Zuriel joins us live in the studio to tell us why it's her dream to see every child in the world get an education. Let's return to Nigeria now, and at a time when the country seems to be in the news for all the wrong reasons, terror attacks and the abduction of schoolgirls, one young girl has been doing her bit to show the country in a good light. Earlier this year, 11-year-old Zuriel was named by the New Africa magazine as one of Africa's 100 most influential people for her work in promoting child education. And she travels around Africa bringing her message to the continent's leaders. Well, I'm happy to say that Zuriel joins me in the studio, as well as her dad, Adeole. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Why are you so interested in promoting child education? I mean, you're just barely out of your childhood yourself.
Well, the reason I really want to promote child education, specifically in the area of girl education, is because usually in Africa, when resources are little, the boys usually tend to get those resources first, meaning that the boys would go to school and get an education, while the girls would stay at home and do chores. And in the future, those girls who aren't educated will have fewer options in life. And also, as you may know, UNESCO stated that as of 2011, 57 million children of primary school age and another 69 million children of lower secondary school age were out of school worldwide, and that's a major problem.
That's a lot of statistics for such a young head. But I mean, I know you do a lot of traveling. I mean, how does that affect your own education? I mean, because I know you travel around Africa, around Europe, around the States. How does that affect your own education?
Well, I'm actually in a homeschool-based curriculum.
Okay. And
so the school allows me to get ahead of my schoolwork, so that way whenever I get home from an overseas trip, I'm not far behind, so I can just continue from where I left off. And and also I have to maintain my grades. That's the deal for me and my parents. I can do these extracurricular activities as long as I still have...
We'll talk to your dad in a minute. I want to ask you about this picture behind us. That's you with President Salva Kiir of South Africa, South Sudan, I beg your pardon. I mean, you've interviewed more African presidents than I have, you know. I mean, how do you manage it?
In total, I've interviewed 14 presidents and prime ministers, mostly on the African continent. For example, President Uhuru Kenyatta of Kenya, President Joyce Banda of Malawi, President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf for Liberia, and of course, President Salva Kiir. And what I usually do is I send letters to presidential offices, and usually anywhere from 6 to maybe 7 or 8 weeks, they'd come back saying that they'll be glad if I came to interview them in either their home countries or maybe in New York City, because twice I had to go there because the presidents were there for the United Nations General Assembly. Okay, Zuriel, I mean, let me just come to your dad now. I mean, these are sad times for your country, Nigeria, of course, with these girls being abducted. I mean, we heard from the head of Boko Haram saying that they shouldn't have been in school, they should have been married instead. How do you get Zuriel's message across to, you know, people who think like that?
I mean, Zuriel does a good job. I mean, she is the reason why we're here. She does a good job trying to communicate the importance of girls' education. I mean, look at her. Try to picture an 11-year-old who is not well educated, who doesn't have the resources. Now, try to picture them speaking to a president. So the message is clear that education does solidify your children, you know, pours into your children, you know, gets them ready for these challenges. Yet, these are very tough times in Nigeria. And my take is very simple. There's cause and effect. What we're experiencing is the effect, not the cause. And it's a very simple arithmetic. You know, children does things in a childlike manner. Let's not just look at the effect.
Okay,
let's look at the cause.
I wish we could go on and on with this, you know. Really lovely to have both of you on set, Zuriel and her dad.